Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on the absolutely incredible 900-year story of a building that has seen it all. We're talking about St Giles Cathedral in Edinburgh, a stone and glass witness to the very soul of Scottish history.
So, let's kick things off with this incredibly harsh take from none other than Robert Louis Stevenson. This quote from 1879 really sets the stage, doesn't it? It tells you right away that St. Giles is no stranger to controversy and radical change, and it hints at the wild ride this building has been on.
All right, let's start with where things are today. If you've ever walked the Royal Mile in Edinburgh, you can't miss it. St. Giles stands right there in the middle of everything, the physical and spiritual heart of the old town. It's so much more than a building. It's completely woven into the city's identity.
And here's what's so interesting. It's living this double life. On one hand, it's the High Kirk of Edinburgh, a very active parish church. But on the other, it's a massive tourist destination, pulling in over 1.3 million visitors in a single year. It's this amazing blend of a sacred space and a must-see historical site.
Okay, now let's rewind the clock, because the early story of St. Giles isn't some peaceful tale of construction. Oh no. It's a dramatic cycle being built up by kings, burned to the ground by enemies, and then reborn with this incredible ambition that shaped its totally unique look. What this timeline really shows you is just how resilient this place is. It starts out pretty humbly around 1124, then gets torched by an invading English army in 1385. But here's the amazing part. They don't just patch it up, they make it grander, bigger, better, culminating in that world-famous crown steeple just a few decades later. And that collegiate church status in 1467, that was a huge deal. Think of it like a promotion. It meant St. Giles was no longer just a local parish church. It was now a major league religious institution, with a whole team of clergy, serious funding, and the full backing of the city and the Scottish crown. It basically became the capital's most important church.
And this is ambition carved in stone. The crown steeple wasn't just built to keep the rain out. It was a statement. I mean, that design with the 8 flying buttresses forming a delicate crown, it was an absolute masterpiece of engineering and a very clear symbol of royal power. It was destined to become one of Scotland's most iconic landmarks.
So from being this symbol of royal Catholic power, the cathedral is about to find itself right in the middle of a storm that will change Scotland forever. We're talking about the Protestant Reformation, and St. Giles is about to become ground zero. This moment right here is the turning point. The formidable reformer John Knox shows up, preaches his first sermon, and gets elected minister. Just like that, St. Giles is fundamentally transformed. It stops being a Catholic church and becomes the mother church of Presbyterianism, which put the focus squarely on the preached word and away from bishops and rituals.
And just look at this contrast. We are not talking about a little redecorating here. This was a complete and total reimagining of what a church even is. The whole focus shifted. Out went the 50 or so altars, the relics, the ornate decorations. In came whitewashed walls and a single central pulpit. It was a revolution in belief made visible.
And get this, how long do you think that total transformation took? Just 9 days. In 9 days, workmen stripped the entire building of its Catholic past. It's just staggering, and it shows you the unstoppable, lightning-fast momentum the Reformation had in Edinburgh.
But the drama was far from over. Fast forward a few decades and boom, another explosion. King Charles I tries to force a new, more English-style prayer book on the Scots, and they were having none of it. Legend has it that a market trader named Jenny Geddes got so fed up she threw her stool right at the dean's head. That one act of defiance sparked a riot that spiraled into civil war.
So, those wars that followed the riot, well, they took a heavy toll on St. Giles. The next chapter is one of neglect, decay, and then an incredible rebirth. We're going to see how this grand, unified space literally got chopped up into pieces and then put back together by two people with very, very different ideas.
Okay, this part is kind of wild. For almost 200 years, St. Giles wasn't one church, it was 4. They literally built walls inside the cathedral, partitioning it off for separate congregations. And if that wasn't strange enough, other parts of the building were being used as a prison and even a police office. Can you imagine?
This is where you see two totally competing visions for what to do with the place. First up is William Byrne in the 1830s. His goal was simple: stop the building from falling down. His solution was practical, but pretty brutal. He basically wrapped the outside in new stone. That's what earned him that pitifully pretentious insult from Stevenson. Then, decades later, William Chambers comes along with a grand romantic dream: to tear down all those internal walls and create a magnificent Westminster Abbey for Scotland.
And it's thanks to that grand vision from Chambers that we get the cathedral we know today. So after all that division and restoration, we arrive in the modern era, where a reunified St Giles fully steps into its role as Scotland's national church, setting the stage for the country's biggest moments.
You know, its role today is just so multifaceted. It's still a local parish church, yes, but it's also the official chapel for the Order of the Thistle, Scotland's highest order of chivalry. It's where the kirking of the Parliament happens, it hosts national services of thanksgiving and remembrance, and it's a major venue for concerts and cultural events. It really does it all.
And speaking of the Order of the Thistle, you have to see their chapel. It's tucked away in a corner of the cathedral, and it's an absolute jewel box. Added in 1911, it is a breathtaking masterpiece of the arts and crafts movement. The detail in the woodwork is just unreal. Truly some of the finest Scottish craftsmanship you will ever see. You just can't separate the story of St Giles from the story of Scottish royalty. It's been the stage for so many key moments. From a requiem for a murdered king way back in 1437, to a young Queen Elizabeth II receiving the honors of Scotland in 1953. And of course, more recently, it was where she lay at rest in 2022 and where King Charles III received those same honors just a year later.
So that leaves us with this final thought. When you look back at its 900 years of fire, riots, and rebirth, you have to ask, has St. Giles been just a passive witness to history? Or has this incredible building actually become a central character, an active player in Scotland's national story itself?